And in Saskatoon, growth and the hard work of your Saskatoon MLAs, who are doing an outstanding job of representing Canada's fastest growing city in the legislature in Regina. Growth and those MLAs have been working hard to make sure that there is a reinvestment in Saskatoon, including a $90 million share for the province of the new South Bridge project. And I think more than just a little leverage we were able to apply to the federal government to make that project a reality together with our municipal partner. And I think, Mayor Atchison, I think it's true that we have sent the check. And if it's not, dare I say, it's in the mail. Growth will finish the $400 million plus academic health science center at the University of Saskatchewan. It will build a new St. Mary's School for about $8 million and add another $8 million to an exciting affordable housing project in the Pleasant Hill St. Mary's School Revitalization Project. In this city, growth is funding 2 new homes to provide services for vulnerable children through the venerable Saskatoon Downtown Youth Center, Inc., EGADS. It provided $1.4 million to Columbia Manor, a 51-unit complex for low-income seniors, and $20 million for the Irene and Les Dubé Center for Mental Health. And for VITO, growth continues to provide for the innovation agenda so important to this city, to the city of Saskatoon. And ladies and gentlemen, the amazing growth that we have experienced in our province is in part the reason why, through $100 million this year and $100 million next year, we can stop talking about a children's hospital and start building a children's hospital right here in Saskatoon. And here I need to acknowledge Bryn Boback Lane and the foundation that has done a remarkable job for many, many years right across this province of building provincial support and awareness and interest for this project and making sure that governments, whatever their stripe, knew of the importance of this project. And I think it's reasonable at this point that this group would want to give that group a round of applause. I've gotten to know Bryn a little bit, and I have a great deal of respect for her, and it is true that I'm also somewhat scared of her. Bryn and her team, in all the right ways. Bryn and her team, by the way, gave me a beautiful framed picture drawn by a child in hospital in the province after the budget when this announcement was made. And it reminds all of us exactly why we seek growth. Really, that's the reason. It's exactly the reason why we want a growing economy, so we can afford these things for our province and our kids. And that is why this government will unrelentingly press our growth agenda, because we know it is borne up on a rising economic tide. We know that families are lifted, that affordable housing is built, that lives are improved on that rising tide. We know that on that rising tide, if we get it right in government, we will build better partnerships, as we must, with First Nations and Métis people in this province. So they are the #1 priority, even before we seek new residents to the province. Their engagement in the economy and their building of the economy of the province of Saskatchewan. It's why we'll remain focused on the fundamentals of a growth agenda, and why I am going to take every chance I can, and so will our government, to promote the amazing story that is Saskatchewan. Anywhere there's a microphone or a venue or a media outlet, you're going to find somebody from our government, hopefully there, if not me, but to get our message out, to tell our story. Whether it's in Toronto or Calgary or Vancouver or in the Wall Street Journal or Fortune magazine or CNN.com, we're going to tell our story. And I have had the chance... I've had the chance, by the way, to give a number of speeches lately, and a disturbing trend is happening. I remember one speech, actually I think it was in this room, where I promoted the Saskatchewan cattle industry a little bit And I think some of the stockmen are here. I've seen a few of them. What I got from them, I never asked for anything, but what I got just for talking a little bit about our great cattle industry was a stockman's tie and some beef jerky. And then in Chicago earlier this year, I mentioned to the Chamber of Commerce there that next time they had a hot dog at Wrigley Field, they ought to remember that a quarter of the mustard seed in the world comes from the great province of Saskatchewan. And the mustard grower sent me a mustard tie and a mustard pocket square, some prepared mustard, some mustard seed, and a beautiful mustard box. So then I spoke to the Canadian Nuclear Association. And I've already ordered the lead garden shed for the house. The word's getting out, ladies and gentlemen, about our province and what's happening here and the opportunity that is here, notwithstanding the fact that we too are going through, obviously, some of the global economic issues that the rest of the world is facing, though, again, perhaps to a lesser degree. But there is still more work to do. There are still some misconceptions out there. And, you know, I was reminded of that in Toronto at the job fair. It was around April Fool's. And I, together with Bev from Canada AM's help, I played a little bit of an April Fool's joke. I ended an interview by thanking TSN for their decision to move their headquarters from Toronto to Regina Beach. And Bev, whose mom's from Regina Beach, went along with me on Canada AM, and we just sort of deadpanned it. And the segment was over, and I was walking off the set, and a cameraman who was, you know, almost hyperventilating, very, honestly, very distraught, said, you know, I do some work for TSN, and so is this true that we're moving to Saskatchewan? And I said, no, it's just April Fool's, that he should relax. And I could tell by just how much he was relieved that we still have some work to do in telling people about our province. And then there's the comments of the new head coach for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, if you haven't heard of these yet. I forget his name, but actually I've stopped learning the names of the Bombers head coaches. They don't seem to stay for very long. He said that Saskatchewan was the crotch of Canada. National news. Actually, we should give him the benefit of the doubt. He probably called us that because we're the only member of Confederation that's producing anything right now.